Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we're going to talk some Kyler Murray, Deebo Samuels, and the shitty wide receiver core in Dallas.
Yeah. I don't really know where to start with the wide receiver core in Dallas. Should we start with that, get that pain out of the way really quickly, and then just move on from there? So I'm not
dealer's choice. Go ahead.
The fact that James Washington being injured seems to be such a big problem kind of shows the issue with the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver room. If James Washington is that big of a miss, that he's causing issues because we're missing him. Like, James Washington's never going to change life in Dallas anyway. Like, sure, him and Dak were having good connections and all of those kind of things, but fuck me. If James Washington is the reason that we're going to live, then if James Washington was going to win us the Super Bowl, then I'm sorry. We're in bigger trouble than I thought we were if we thought that James Washington was this key of a piece.
Yeah, I did just read before we came on that Jerry Jones is rumored to be interested in Odell Beckham.
Doesn't solve the issue.
Well, and I don't think Odell would sign. Like, I think he's waiting to go back to LA because he wants that ring, another ring, and he doesn't want to blow his knee out in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there was talk about, I heard some people talking 49ers, like, when he comes back, like, Odell heading to the 49ers, but Odell Beckham doesn't solve the problem of, like, that we have, because he's injured for longer than Gallup and James Washington, so he's obviously better than James Washington. I'm not sure if he's that much better than Gallup just because of the injury. And like, obviously in pedigree, he's better than Gallup. Like, don't get me wrong, but he's got injured like quite a few times now. Does he still have that top level speed like after the injury? But I guess the same could be said about Gallup. Whereas Odell Beckham doesn't change life in Dallas for the time that we need him to. Like, if Odell Beckham is fit, get him in, like, straight away. Like, let's do it. Let's do the move. But as you say, does he want to come to Dallas? You could see him with the star on his helmet, couldn't you? The biggest play of his life was, again, the play that made Odell Beckham's career was for the Dallas Cowboys, against the Dallas Cowboys, sorry. You can see the star on his helmet being a big deal. Cheers, buddy. Yeah, but I'm not seeing Odell Beckham. I just say go pick up Cole Beasley. He had a good connection with Dak when they played together. And go pick up Emmanuel Sanders, and let's just try and piece something together.
Well, before I respond, take your ass over to Zuel-world.com. Get the new Yankee and the Brit, get the Zuel stuff. And I know for a fact one of those Yankee and the Brit t-shirts sold last night after midnight, and me and Maddie didn't even buy it.
That's madness. We appreciate you guys so much.
Yes, definitely. With Odell Beckham and that 49er rumor, I think Trey Lance would have to play out his fucking mind the first 6 games of the season for Odell to even think about going there, because if you're looking at LA or San Francisco and you're a wide receiver, Trey ain't proved shit. So if you don't come out and prove it, who would you rather play with, Trey Lance or Matthew Stafford? You know what I mean? So I think, like, Odell, yes, it's partly about money. It's always about money. Don't let that fool you. But for the most part, with Odell, it's where do I have the best chance of winning?
Yeah. And obviously, Patrick's just gone down up in Denver as well. You could see Odell maybe going in there. But the thing is, he doesn't cover for an injury because he's out for, 6 weeks at least, plus getting to know systems. So, yeah, Odell doesn't fix the problem in Dallas. I think what Jerry has said is he's come out and said we're going to give the young guys a chance. And I do believe we've drafted some good talent in those positions. There's been some good plays at training camp. But that guy out of the XFL, the most receiving yards in the XFL, he seems to be doing pretty well. And the guy that we drafted 3rd overall, like, I really like him. Like, don't get me wrong, but our wide receiver room is CeeDee Lamb and then not much else. And don't get me wrong, it's still better than the Green Bay Packers wide receiver situation, but it's not gonna. This is where Dak needs to prove that he can elevate and he's worth the $40 million, and we know he's not worth, and we know he's not that kind of quarterback.
Is it better than Green Bay's? Because really, because I'd rather have I would take any receivers with Aaron Rodgers over CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott.
Yeah, no, sorry, I meant just the wide receiver room, not the.
Well, I think what hurts you guys the most is your offensive line used to be the staple of that team. Now that's up in flux. I know people are pissed off that Zeke Elliott's not playing the preseason and not going to practice the rest of training camp, but like, I agree with him, bro. Like, what the fuck does he need to be taking hits and joint practices for or in preseason games? What, unless something changes, we don't run Delvin Cook in the preseason. We didn't play Adrian Peterson in the preseason. LaDainian Tomlinson never played in the preseason. Why get these running backs beat up once you already know what you have? And you already know he's the starting running back. So, like, why risk hurting him? I think your biggest question, though, is going to end up being what happens with your line. If your offensive line comes out and holds up, then Dallas's offense will be Dallas's offense. If it doesn't, that changes everything in Dallas.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be almost tempting to put kind of Tony Pollard at wide receiver in the slot, like at times, and kind of move things around like that. Like that running back tandem at times last year looked like the best running back tandem in the league. At times, like it looked like it was able to do something really special. So let's see how Zeke comes back. Let's run the ball until we get Gallup and Washington back. And then when you've got Gallup and Washington back, you kind of look at it and you say, okay, yeah, we can work with this. Personally, I would like to get Cole Beasley back or Emmanuel Sanders, get a little bit of experience for those first 6 games while we're waiting for people to come back in the room.
This just being from, I don't know what every team runs as a system right now, but there is going to be West Coast system receivers cut. Yeah. There's a good chance BC Johnson does not make Minnesota's roster, but he's been a really good number 3 and 4 over the last couple of years. He was a decent 2 when he had to step up and steal and shoot. He didn't rock the world, but that's a guy you can bring in for depth, and he'll already know most of McCarthy's system because Kubiak, McCarthy, all off the West Coast tree, Shanahan, all come from Bill Walsh. Like, and there's going to be guys from that West Coast system that can come in, contribute. And we've seen it with young wide receivers, man. They can rock the league now. Remember how everybody used to say, well, the only position that can come in and play right away is running back. Well, now it's running back and receiver. Yeah. These receivers are ready to play.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the guys that we've picked up. Jerry's always had a good eye for talent at the wide receiver position, especially in the draft. And hopefully CD and Dak can kind of hook it up because we know that they both have the talent to be elite. So if they can hook it up, then the wide receiver room in Dallas will be fine. I'm more worried about the fact that once we get through these 6 games and our wide receiver room is healthy again, I feel like we can actually take off. It's just the fact that the Eagles look semi-good this year, so we can't afford to fall too far behind. But if we're worried about the Eagles, the target is the Super Bowl for Mike McCarthy. Otherwise, we're going to go get Sean Payton. So we shouldn't really be worried about the Eagles too much anyway.
Well, I won't give away any picks, but stay tuned because maybe I don't have the Cowboys winning. I think CD absolutely has the chance to be elite. I'll leave it at that, and you can take what you want off your own statement. When you come to quarterbacks, though, let's talk some Kyler Murray and how I feel like Arizona made this a freaking shit show with their let's put this clause in. Oh, wait. We're going to take this clause out now because we already made Kyler look dumb as fuck. So now let's pull the clause out. Like, too late, man. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, you can't.
Yeah, they got memed out of a clause. So they clearly wanted the clause and they got memed out of it. Like, what is that? What professional organization listens to bullshit that we say on Facebook and changes things. Like that's so fucking stupid. Like, because it's not like it was getting like in the media, like the real media, not like the us media on Facebook and YouTube and Spotify and other podcasts and things like that. If you want to go check us out on any of those things. But on real media, like in the US, they weren't actually tearing this apart as much as you thought they would. Like they were kind of saying like, okay, it's a clause that they've just put in. It doesn't really mean that he's not been watching film. It kind of just means that let's just make sure and he has to log that time. That's what they were saying. Whereas now they've been memed out by us lot. And that's just so fucking ridiculous. Like the Arizona Cardinals look kind of well run until you really dig deep into what they've been doing, and they don't look well run at all.
Well, let's take a time machine back to Kyler's draft. When Kyler made the statement, well, I don't need to watch a lot of film. I just can see it. And I'm like, if Kyler's not watching any film and he's bowling out like this, then holy fuck, what if he actually buckles down and watches film, good luck.
Yeah, what did he say? Like, if I was my size, not watching film, I'd be killed or like something like that. He's like, I couldn't get away with being this size in this league and not watch any film. Like, that's so ridiculous. Like, he's a hard-working athlete. Like, to play this game, you've got to watch film. That's so ridiculous. I kind of like, is it 100% confirmed that the Oakland A's offered Kyler Murray like a big paycheck saying, hey man, they're kind of fucking you over. Are you sure you don't want to come over to baseball to try and entice him?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard that, or I should say I seen that. I didn't hear it. And I don't know how that's been confirmed, but it makes sense. Like, he had to pay them back $4 million just to go play football from being the 9th pick in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. It just seems the clause bullshit was so dumb. Like, just don't put it in there. But I imagine it's kind of that kind of rhetoric and that kind of language is in a lot of contracts. Like, I imagine, like, because you get dumb stuff put in all contracts. Like, so like if you're on like hourly pay kind of jobs where you do a lot of work from home, like they just put in the clause saying this is what you're meant to be doing at home during these hours, but it doesn't mean that they don't trust you not to do it or you have to do it in those exact hours. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems, I bet that's rhetoric, like kind of in a decent amount of quarterbacks contracts, but just because it's Kyler Murray and he seems like a bit of like just a backstreet baller kind of guy, like he hasn't been watching the film, like no, it's fucking bullshit. Like, and it's just come at a terrible time as well, like where the news cycle's like slow but starting to pick up again, and so they can make a huge deal about this story. What do you think about Kyler Murray now being the second highest paid quarterback in terms of money per year?
Well, I answer that in a second, but everything I read and seen from every agent and sports show, none of them have ever seen this kind of clause in a contract. And Andrew Brandt said there's no way he would have let one of his clients, when he was an agent, sign that deal and set that precedent. And for Kyler being the second highest paid, I think it is what it is because that's just how the quarterback market works. And by the end of this year, going into next year, Kyler will be paid like 6th or 7th. And this whole thing will be behind him because everybody crushed Dak. Everybody crushed Kirk Cousins. Everybody crushes whatever. But if you go look, like Kirk Cousins, 7th or 8th highest paid quarterback right now. And like, it's just all going to work itself down. But next man up, right? You just get paid. Like, what's Lamar going to get paid? Lamar's going to get more than Kyler, and they're lucky Kyler didn't stick his foot in the ground and go, I want a Deshaun Watson deal.
Yeah, of course. It's the Cardinals are irrelevant without Kyler Murray, and that was the amount of money that Kyler Murray was going to sign for whichever team he goes for. So it's almost just like yeah, you kind of have to sign it. Like, they were an absolute tire fire before Kyler Murray got there. Kyler Murray makes them relevant.
Kyler Murray had all the leverage because of the Deshaun Watson contract. Like, Kyler, every GM and owner should be thanking Kyler Murray for resetting the market back to not guaranteed, because I thought, oh shit, Deshaun just locked down some guaranteed contracts for people. But Kyler being the next man up didn't get fully guaranteed. So owners and GM should be thanking him.
Yeah, they should be going up to the owner of the Cardinals and being like, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. You can't pay. There's no way you should be giving Deshaun Watson that fully guaranteed money, but that's the Browns being the Browns. But you can't really give Kyler Murray guaranteed money. It's very difficult to give Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson guaranteed money down to the fact of the way that they play the game. So that's quite difficult to give them the guaranteed money. We'll see with a more steady quarterback, I guess, whoever the next one of those guys coming up to get paid, maybe a guy who doesn't have as many injuries and things like that. Justin Herbert, Joey Burrow, you can see those guys getting fully guaranteed money coming up. But I'm sure the market will even itself out. They had to pay him that much money. A contract that kind of surprised me a lot was the Deebo Samuel's contract. I think I was just surprised that it got done, like, in the end.
Well, one last thing on the quarterback contracts is I don't ever agree with Florio, but I agree with Florio. Maybe they should just do a fucking percentage instead of all of this other crazy shit, and then it just follows the cap, and so you know X amount of percent is going to our quarterback, and then we have the rest. I think when you sit back and rethink about it, because hindsight's 2020, it makes sense. Debo had to get re-signed, right? If they weren't going to trade him, you have to pay him. They can talk all the shit they want about his route running. That dude is 85% of their fucking offense. So if you don't pay him, what are you doing? And you better pay him when you're bringing on a rookie quarterback or a second year, but essentially rookie quarterback, because you better give him every weapon in the world. And these receivers are being really smart and signing 3-year deals. DK, Deebo, they want another bite at this apple for a big contract while they're still in their 20s.
Yeah, of course. And obviously Deebo Samuels is kind of like he's like his guardian angel for Trey Lance. Like, the way that he runs routes means that Trey Lance doesn't have to throw the ball fucking miles down the field or do any of that shit. It's what we were talking about in our last video with Tyreek Hill, maybe the perfect weapon for Tua, because you can just run a shit ton of bubble screens the entire time and, like, just do that. Deebo Samuels can do exactly the same thing. I mean, they're going to have to play him a running back less. And, like, that would be... Otherwise, he's going to be really pissed off again. But I just think once you get paid, you kind of have to play in the position where they ask you to play in. They're not going to ask him to run up the gut, I imagine, very often.
Yeah, and let's be honest. There's 3 guys on that offense that make that team go. Granted, you need the offensive line and everything, but 3 guys. And in order of importance, Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuels, and Kittle. Those 3, and when those 3 are locked up and Kyle's calling the right plays, these guys are going, that offense is almost impossible to stop. So as long as Trey Lance doesn't lose their games, Jimmy won them games throwing one of a playoff game, 8 passes. 8.
Yeah, and you've got to make sure that Trey Lance is successful, and paying Deebo Samuels is the best way to make Trey Lance successful. There's not really much else you can do. Plus, on top of that now, Brandon Ayuk is apparently having the best training camp out of anybody. I mean, how much credence can you put into that? But I think it's coming out from sources outside of the 49ers as well. So that's 2 elite. Like, we knew that Brandon Ayuk had it in and there was flashes. So that's 2 good young wide receivers there for Trey Lance to have. Obviously, the potential of Odell Beckham that we mentioned at the start of the podcast as well. Those kind of guys who plays lights out football, and it's kind of looking like it might shape into Trey Lance's year down in San Francisco. Like, everything's kind of going his way. I'm not the biggest Trey Lance fan. I believe in proving it out on the field, so I can't really say too much about him yet. Like, I wasn't a fan of the pick at all. I would have taken Justin Fields over Trey Lance, but I guess time will tell.
Did you watch Justin Fields? Do you still say that? Like, he played a whole year. Like, I just don't. I live so close to Chicago, and I hear these crazy things, and I'm like, we watch different games, but you hear it here from me. I really, truly believe Trey Lance will be better than Kyler Murray when it's all said and done.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I like it. Good take. Good take.
It's a lot of it to do with Shanahan.
You don't think if you put Justin Fields in the 49ers offense compared to the Bears after what he did for the Bears last year? He impressed
What
me
did he
last
do?
Year.
He looked awful. He looked awful. And I think it's his coaching staff, but I watched him at Ohio State too. I'm like 5 years into watching this kid, and I hope I'm absolutely wrong because I don't ever want somebody to lose their career or whatever. I don't think he's it, and I think they wasted. And I think his worst thing that happened to him is he lost the people who drafted him.
Yeah. I just think we saw him kind of sort out his mechanics a little bit. I know we're not here to talk about Justin Fields. We'll talk about him.
Well, since we are, I gotta say this though. When it comes to mechanics, when the pocket's clean and everything's good, it's very easy to switch your mechanics. When shit goes sideways, you revert back to what you've always known. And I don't know, maybe he'll be all right, but I think he's also in a bad situation with a horrible team, which doesn't help him. And I think the Bears actually got worse, not better. So, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, like, quarterback's probably the hardest position to, like, evaluate.
Yeah, I think also placing somebody behind that in that Bears offense is not a fair way to justify leg at all. But yeah, we'll see.
And Florio made a good point too, though. He said, hire an offensive head coach, which the Bears didn't, right? And he said, if you don't, you're going to have a different offensive coordinator every year if you're good. Whereas if you have an offensive head coach and your coordinator leaves, it doesn't matter because the offense is still run through the head coach.
Yeah. He's in a tough place. I just think if you put him in the 49ers, I think Justin Fields plays more games last year for the 49ers than Trey Lance did. I know Trey Lance got hurt, but also because Jimmy got hurt.
I still have a shot when I said Davis Mills will be better than Justin Fields before that draft. I still have a shot.
Yeah.
And they're both on awful teams, so like the playing level is pretty even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right.
Well, guys, we'll be getting more information as time goes on. Any Vikings fans out there, and you've seen the news today, don't worry. Irv Smith will be back by opening day. It's only a thumb. It's not his knee again. There's guys getting injured left and right, though, and I don't know how to fix it, but the NFL's got to look into, like, these non-contact injuries really suck for players and teams right now. I don't know if that's conditioning. I don't know what it is. I don't know, but smarter people than me need to figure that out.
It's turf pitches. It's 100% turf pitches. It's got to be like that. It's so stupid. Like everywhere. Like, why don't you play on grass? You should be playing on grass.
Well, depending on your turf, sometimes if it's maintained correctly, it can be better on the joints. The problem is rich-ass people have this hard time of spending the money, which always blows my mind.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that it's happening at the Cowboys facility, the Cowboys have the best shit. Like, let's be real. Jerry Jones is no money spared kind of guy in terms of his pursuit of Super Bowl. So I imagine James Washington is just it's just part of the game. Like, let's be real. The NFL, the reason that we like it is because of how, like, hardcore it is. You can tackle from any angle. You can, like, all of those kind of things. It's going to cause injuries. It's just that kind of sport.
Well, I'll leave you with this thought. Our teams need Super Bowl wins for us. I get that. We need to have good seasons. But the only argument in the NFL right now when it comes to stadiums is who's the best, Minnesota or Gary World? So we got the two best stadiums no matter where anybody falls in. So we'll take some solace in being the kings of the stadium.
Is it not that beautiful stadium down in LA?
No, everybody's mad at that thing because of that stupid dome they put on it. But yet, if it rains and lightnings, you can't play because it's not completely domed. And they have asked that thing. They have asked that thing for some reason. It's beautiful, but the design doesn't always work.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
You can open now. Hey, Minnesota can open that whole side of it on both sides and let the wind come through, but it can shut. Now that's kind of what they should have done in LA, so that they could have shut those sides and not have weather delays in a dome. Who has weather delays in a dome?
Yeah. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is also a beautiful American football stadium, by the way. Just putting that out there. But yeah, it's definitely between Jerry World and the American Bank Stadium.
Yeah, and then whoever builds the next one will be right up in the conversation. Yeah. But you and I got ridiculously rich owners, which always help.
Yeah, hopefully Chicago keep theirs in the city.
Well, it's going to move to Arlington, but that's a suburb, so who cares? You know what I mean? So, like, is Jerry World? That's not actually in Dallas, though, right? That's in Irvington. Arlington, too, just a different state, Arlington. Yeah. Yeah, so it's same idea. Like, you know, I don't think people care that much, but the Bears need a dome.
Yeah, I just think Chicago's kind of like suits being in the city. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just think it suits being in the city a bit more. But
until you have to drive to or leave one of those games.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys, there you have it. We'll come back with some more news. We're going to have a ton of breaking news. And don't forget, tomorrow is the kickoff of real preseason football, Hall of Fame game. Make sure you check it out. I'm excited. I'll get so excited. I'll get in front of the TV, and 13 minutes in, I'll be like, who are these people and what the fuck is this?
I'm so excited for the first quarter of that game. You have no idea.
Yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.